Hi, Scott Sattler, Managing Director of Complete Corporate Services. The following educational presentation covers modules surrounding topics demonstrating how lawyers can use investigators to assist in areas of law such as commercial, family, criminal, and personal injury. I hope you find the use of investigators by the legal industry helpful.
Module 9. Using investigators to protect intellectual property. Developing, refining, and utilising intellectual property can provide businesses with a source of considerable competitive advantage over existing organisations within a market or those seeking to become new entrants. Furthermore, the recognition and protection of intellectual rights fosters an environment of innovation where companies can be rewarded for solving socially important problems while creating technologies that provide great public benefit without fear of market competitors piggybacking these ideas. Beyond the viewpoint of a single business, the World Intellectual Property Organization views intellectual property as being more generally an important tool for economic growth. Moreover, as the world becomes increasingly globalized, nations are recognizing the growing value that intellectual property rights play in as they are leveraged by businesses to compete and to local GDP. However, the benefits of intellectual property such as trade secrets, trademarks, and copyright do not materialize without considerable time and financial cost to an organization. For these reasons, Australian and international law has evolved to recognize these rights as fundamental to business, social advancement through innovation, and fundamental to human existence. This is evidenced by Article 27.2 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, which states that everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. A famous case illustrating the friction between technological innovation and respect for intellectual property rights is A&M Records Incorporated and Napster Incorporated. Napster enabled peer-to-peer music sharing, bypassing the need to purchase music or pay royalties to authors and record labels. It was alleged that Napster had engaged in contributory and vicarious copyright infringement. Napster was found guilty on both counts. Despite global attitudes towards recognizing and protecting IP, the landscape is now more fraught with danger than ever. A major problem faced by organizations has been the unlawful use of intellectual property, which on many occasions has gone without identification for considerable periods of time. Adding to an already complex situation, offenders are becoming increasingly sophisticated and are easily able to mask their identity to avoid enforcement of local intellectual property laws. Some examples of this include theft of database, use of copyright logo and passing off, trademark infringement, counterfeit, and privacy. In situations such as these, investigators provide invaluable assistance to organizations. Key results often include the discovery of information which provides highly useful information in the content of litigation. Some examples of how investigators assist lawyers and organizations with the protection of intellectual property are as follows. Identification of infringement. A role fundamental to the investigator is uncovering information which is not readily or easily available to the public. This skill is invaluable for organizations who rely heavily upon the value of their intellectual property. Most commonly, investigators are appointed to assist organizations to uncover any illegal use of their intellectual property, including but not limited to the sale of sports jerseys on websites such as eBay and AliExpress, the sale of cracked or pirated software on eBay or underground forums, publication of videos and/or instructions on how to download pirated videos or software, the use of business name in violation of trademark, but also where businesses attempt to pass off, and finally, the use of copyright-protected logos to pass off or engage in misleading and deceptive conduct. When engaged by organizations, good investigators have the correct technology to monitor and actively search for intellectual property infringement, providing comprehensive reports back to clients, allowing action to occur swiftly and before major loss or damage to the organization occurs. Identification of offender. Upon receiving instructions from clients, investigators can utilize access to technology and comprehensive databases in attempts to uncover the identity of persons responsible for infringement. The process undertaken to identify the offender varies dependent upon the type of infringement and whether other third-party platforms are utilized. For example, the process of obtaining an identity is different for pirated software sold on eBay in contrast to a copyright website. Nonetheless, investigators are routinely able to provide information such as the domain, registrar, domain contacts, domain hosting provider, IP address of hosting provider, host location and jurisdiction. In some cases, investigators are able to directly identify offenders who have been careless in their offending, leaving behind obvious clues as to their identity. Collation of evidence. While attempting to identify offenders, investigators compile detailed briefs of evidence that can be used by lawyers or their clients for future enforcement action. Where investigators are unable to locate the name of a person responsible for infringement, they can at the very least provide instructions on which parties are responsible for facilitating the infringement, where they are located, and how they can be served legal documents. Most commonly, this service is required where lawyers wish to engage in pre-litigation discovery to force the release of the IP address of a person responsible for offending. Service of documents. Where lawyers or clients wish to initiate legal proceedings, good investigators have worldwide networks who can coordinate the service of documents upon offenders or facilitators globally and quickly. Removal. In addition to the aforementioned services, private investigators can, in some instances, assist with disabling the offending use of intellectual property. These services themselves are typically laden with trade secrets. However, where investigators are suitably trained, they can assist with petitioning for removal and in some cases removing the offending content.
Thanks for participating in the presentation. We hope you found it valuable. If you require further information or assistance, please don't hesitate to contact Complete Corporate Services via email, operations@completecorp.com.au, or call us 1300 911 334.